If we want the rewards of being loved, we must submit to the mortifying ordeal of being known. Thus said the philosopher Thomas Kreider when talking about human existence. I'm going to tweak that. If we want the reward of an amazing story, we must submit to the mortifying ordeal of having a mirror held up to our innermost motivations. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to take a look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 107. This will be the spoiler-free review, and that is going to be tricky. But I think I can manage it. That quote has to deal with how humans interact with the world. If we want someone to love us, truly love us, we have to expose ourselves to them. And a story is a representation of reality, representing reality. This is where the tired old trope of the humans were the monsters all along comes from, because there are dark things in the human psyche. Every single human virtue will be a vice if left to run rampant and not held in strict balance with the other virtues. You can have characters that you sympathize with, characters that you root for, and there can be terrible things in them because they are human. And when a story holds up a villain to us, even if it's a kaiju, if it's an alien, if it's a good villain, if it's a good story that draws you in, there must be something human in the villain. There must be something about the villain's behavior that makes you sit back and think, yeah, that could be me, because it could be you. As a mature story reader, to truly enjoy mature stories, you have to understand that there is no villainy to which every human, including you, might not sink. And the best kaiju stories have always represented the threats of human behavior, be that the hubris of testing nuclear devices on random islands and thinking that we had control of the situation. Now, the kaiju up till this point in Kaiju number 8 have clearly been representative of the 1001 natural disasters that we humans have had to deal with. And the human trauma, the human failings, have come in the form of our erstwhile heroes trying to meet these disasters and failing or succeeding because of their virtues and vices. In this chapter, the author takes Kaiju number 9 and holds it up as a mirror to the human psyche. We get a peek inside Kaiju number 9's head, and I, for one, very disturbingly saw myself. As you know, I'm a scientist, and the scientific accuracy of Matsumoto's story is up till this chapter. There is a flaw in this chapter. It might be a flaw in the translation, though. The word plant is used instead of fungus, but that's another issue entirely. The scientific accuracy and the dedication to a highly intellectual use of scientific realism is one of the things that I value most about this manga. But science requires experimentation. And when you say scientific experiment, there's always a little shiver at the back of your skull, because the virtue of curiosity has its corresponding vice, or rather, it is its corresponding vice, just like all the virtues. And in this story, Matsumoto grapples with one of those virtue vice things where the virtue is the vice. And through Kaiju number 9, we get a very dark look at the human soul. But this is, after all, Shonen Jump manga. The dark peek at the human soul that we get is wrapped up in the brightness of the world. As Lucy Maud Montgomery said, a pine wood is as beautiful as a pigsty and every bit as realistic. So when someone tells you to make your story realistic, don't think that you have to make it dark and depressing and disgusting. In this chapter, one of Matsumoto's greatest talents really shines, and that is the ability to address the evil, the cowardice, the depravity in the human world without giving in to depression, misery, and defeat. There is good in the world. This is the Mr. Rogers manga, Find the Helpers. Matsumoto chose to tell a story about the humans who were helping, who were fighting, who were protecting their loved ones, who were stepping up and being better than they could be. All around them you can see that there is cowardice, there is evil, but that's not the point of this story. And another thing that this chapter illustrates is how brilliantly Matsumoto leads in with the world building dozens of chapters before. The dark, terrible thing that we are shown makes perfect sense. It wasn't just foreshadowed. The evidence of its presence were clearly laid out as early as chapter 17, I think 17, 18, or 19. It was back in the story arc when Reno and Haru are facing down Kaiju number 9 for the first time. The elements that allow for the plot twists, both the predictable and the unpredictable ones, were lined out as early as chapter 4 or 5 and chapter 2 in some cases. Not one single plot twist in this chapter just sprang up out of the blue. None of it is a deus ex machina. Kaiju number 8 is going in and fighting for the lives of everyone he loves using only things that have been firmly established in the universe. There is no god from the machine reaching down to just fix things because the plot demands it. This is a well-written story, and this chapter is a brilliant example of how Matsumoto uses that which he has built up before in the story. And I think that's about all I can say without getting into spoilers. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Drake McCarty's leg was shattered, deep in the wilderness. As the flash flood closed over him, something alien pulled him from the waters. A military base that shouldn't exist. An ancient warrior with secrets of his own. Drake returns to his family with a whole leg and the burden of a secret he doesn't understand. In the forest around them, someone is watching, and something followed him home. Flying Sparks. 90,000 words of science fantasy adventure. The first novel in the Dying Embers universe is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and from the author as a signed copy. Get your copy now and step into a world where dragons walk the forest, aliens lurk on the mountain, and things go boomp in the night.
Escape into another world with the writings of author Betty Adams. Two worlds, one of utter absurdity, one of dramatic tension, both alike in aliens absolutely astounded by human behavior. Humans are weird, short, absurd science fiction stories. Flying sparks, dragons, aliens, and things that go boomp in the night.
Books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and at authorBettyAdams.com for a signed copy.